Good morning. This is the editor's desk, and I'm here with Matt Keys. Matt, how are you?
Good, Rick. How was your holiday?
My holidays are terrific. I got to be Santa Claus, which, we said if you look like me, you have a certain social responsibility to do that with a lot of grandkids. How are yours?
Mine was well. I went and house sat for some friends of ours who went to Utah. They went to Vegas first and then they went to Utah. So lucky them. It was raining like crazy in California over the holidays. We got a little bit of a break on Christmas. But I probably would have rather had been in Vegas and Utah because the weather probably was a little bit nicer there.
I get
But
that.
I got to see, friends and family over the holidays, and it was nice to have a break. I'll tell you, I had plans to catch up on a bunch of work with the business. You probably saw we made a very big announcement last week.
Great numbers. You've established a media empire, bud.
Yes, so thank you to everyone who follows the desk, who watches these videos on Microsoft, and also the clips that we post out on LinkedIn. The announcement was that we were the most engaged publication on LinkedIn among our core competitor set, and we have about 8 competitors that we list that are similarly positioned to us. We're going to build on that throughout 2025, and I had all of this work that I wanted to do on the back end of that to effectuate some of the plans that we have going forward. And I wound up doing very little work on that because I really took the holidays to rest and relax, which I think is important for everybody. So I'm coming into 2025 with some new energy. I think this is going to be a great year for the desk. I think it's going to be a great year for the editor's desk. I'm looking forward to doing some more things with you this year. We've kind of been talking behind the scenes about launching another product and a couple of other things, which hopefully we'll be willing to share pretty soon. Um, and then I really wanted to take a little bit of a deeper dive into what we were doing on LinkedIn, what we've been doing at the desk, what we plan to do with the editor's desk for this video, and then kind of discuss CES and a couple other things. But we both woke up this morning and had a major news story slash bombshell dropped on us in the media and entertainment sector.
We did, and it was from Fubo and Disney, and it impacts the future of the business, notably the future of TV sports. So, what does it all mean?
Yeah, we all woke up this morning to the news that Fubo and the Walt Disney Company have agreed to effectively merge their respective pay TV businesses. So Fubo, of course, operates Fubo TV, which is a sports inclusive streaming service that offers broadcast and national channels and regional sports. And then Disney has Hulu with Live TV or Hulu Plus Live TV, which has about 4 million subscribers. So they've agreed to marry their pay TV business. It's looking like it's going to take the form of a new company. They're calling it NewCo right now. We don't really know what shape that's going to take
Yeah.
going forward, but we know a few of the elements on that. So Disney will own 70% of the new company. That includes both Fubo and Hulu plus Live TV. Fubo will take a 30% ownership stake. They will remain a publicly traded separate company. Fubo's CEO, David Gandler, will be the CEO of the new company. Fubo's current leadership will also move over to the new pay TV company. The combined company will have slightly more than 6 million pay TV subscribers. That's assuming that Fubo and Hulu plus live TV subscribers carry over. It is projected to be the second biggest streaming pay TV service behind Google-owned YouTube TV, which has around 8 million subscribers. Fubo and Hulu plus Live TV will, for now, remain separate products. So Fubo subscribers will continue to be served by Fubo. Hulu with Live TV subscribers will continue to be served through the Hulu app. Fubo will negotiate carriage deals with broadcasters and programmers for channels on both of the streaming apps. So both Fubo and Hulu plus Live TV. Disney is not going to be involved in carriage negotiations for those two services. So they'll own 70%, but they're not actually going to effectuate the deals to bring in channels on either of those services. Fubo will handle both of those. Fubo has also renewed its distribution agreement with Disney early. That agreement includes the launch of a new sports and broadcast business unit that will feature Disney's sports inclusive channels like ESPN and ABC. There's some chatter that it may also include other channels, notably those owned by Fox, according to a
Yeah.
Fubo spokesperson who spoke with another reporter that I spoke with earlier today. Um, Consequentially, Fubo's pending lawsuit, antitrust lawsuit over Venue Sports, of which Disney is a joint venture participant with Fox and Warner Brothers, will be settled. The operators of Venue Sports, so those three broadcasters I just mentioned, have agreed to pay $220 million to Fubo. Separately, Disney will also execute a loan in 2026 that provides Fubo with $145 million in additional capital. And the last line item here, if this marriage between Fubo and Disney's pay television businesses fall apart for whatever reason, either because one or both companies decide to move on from it, or they face regulatory pressure that just dissolves the agreement in general, Disney has agreed to pay Fubo a termination fee of $130 million. So that was the news this morning. A lot to digest. Rick, what are your initial thoughts on
Well,
all of
first of
this?
all, let's try to start with the guys who are not being talked about, but they're part of the settlement. That's Disco Warner. Um,
Mhm.
are they putting, to your understanding, cash into this $200 million settlement? They must be. It's not all Disney's money.
Yeah, we don't know from the press release exactly what the breakdown of the $220 million settlement is.
I mean, they
Keep
don't
in
have a
mind
lot of
that,
cash to spare right now. So,
right, and keep in mind that on paper, Venue Sports is technically owned by a subsidiary of Fox, even though it's an equally run joint venture. Now, one of the interesting things that we're reporting at the desk this morning, Monday morning, is that this marriage of Fubo's pay TV business has kind of restarted at a very informal level conversations between Fubo and Warner Brothers Discovery to possibly bring back WBD owned channels into the Fubo service. So keep in mind that Fubo has not offered the core set of Warner Brothers channels like CNN and TNT, those
ooh,
and the sports inclusive channels for about 5 years. And they said in the antitrust lawsuit they did this because they wanted to pursue an agreement with Disney, and the expense of offering channels from Disney and Warner Brothers Discovery was just going to be too high to really make their service attractive and at an attractive price point. So, what we are reporting is that the executives have held very informal discussions about bringing back those channels. Also, keep in mind that the Discovery side of the portfolio was dropped last year while this antitrust lawsuit was taking place. Now, we don't expect those conversations to really become formalized until Fox and Disney receive assurances that that deal will move forward. But those negotiations, whether informal now or formal in the future, are not contingent upon the marriage. They're not part of that
right.
deal. But Fubo, as the negotiator of distribution agreements with both Hulu with Live TV and, of course, its own service, Fubo, clearly has an incentive to bring on board the Disney-owned channels, especially if they're going to evolve into a reseller of Venue Sports at some point in the near future.
You know, it occurs to me that we're going to have a lot of outside counsel making a ton of money on this thing. What you just described of the parallel conversations with Disney about getting the Turner programming and the Discovery programming over into Fubo, separate from the rest of that Michigas. Um, that's a nightmare, but frankly, it would appear that Fubo has the cards on that one because all of a sudden they've got money to pay license fees, which is what Warner Brothers desperately needs. And you've got some properties at Warner Brothers. I mean, who in the world is watching TNT? I don't even know what's not TNT, TBS. TNT, I think, is movies, but it used to be NBA games, and they're not anymore. We know what we're watching on CNN. You've got, different bits and pieces of the old Turner classics that are just sitting there doing nothing, but small audiences would see that as, well, that's kind of something I'd want to watch now and again, but I will want to pay
Mhm.
extra for. So now all of a sudden, Fubo has some cash to actually knock down a couple of deals, complete their platform, and become, for all intents and purposes, a virtual cable MSO out there with sports programming. Does Fubo have the rights to resell Max? Do you know?
Not currently because they don't have a deal with Warner Brothers Discovery, but one of the things
See,
that uh
that's the one that makes sense. That's the one
yeah,
that if I were Fubo, I would say, I'll charge it, I'll charge 10 and I'll give you 3 and let's just go make some money.
well
And that's
what
an
I was
old style deal.
yeah, what I was about to say is one of the things that David Gandler came out, the Fubo CEO, Monday morning and said during an investor presentation on the deal with Disney is that he really sees Hulu with live TV being the pay television product
Yeah.
that people subscribe to if they want all of the most possible channels. And then Fubo, it winds up evolving into what it's really been marketed as this whole time, which is a sports inclusive service. So that could wind up, does Fubo become Venue Sports? Maybe. Does Fubo take the lead on developing the over the top version of ESPN? I think all signs point to that being very true. So if you want sports, you subscribe to Fubo. If you want Hulu, you subscribe to Disney. And one of the things that both sides are saying today is that the marriage of Fubo and Hulu with live TV is going to effectuate skinnier, more flexible, sports inclusive bundles. So now all of a sudden, this idea of having Fubo evolve into a reseller of Venue Sports makes a lot of sense if they can effectuate a deal to bring back in some capacity the Warner Brothers channel. So does that mean they only make a deal to bring back TBS and TNT? And by the way, there's a lot of sports still on the TNT sports channels.
Yeah.
If you're a baseball fan and your team is in the World Series, you want access to TBS. Absolutely.
That's the one thing the TBS has got. Okay, so now it's interesting if you think, well, first of all, I'm not going to waste a single brain cell on figuring out what they're going to do with consumer names between excuse me, Hulu with live TV and Fubu and sports and this and that and the other thing. They will figure that out. They'll get it wrong twice, but they'll finally get it right and they'll get it in front of the consumer and the consumer will go, ah, that I can buy and make it simple and have sort of a quote unquote basic service with some upgrades onto sports and some upgrades onto Max and just have it make sense there. They're going to get that figured out. I don't think anybody needs to worry about how they're going to do it. What is vastly more interesting to me is what this does to the rest of the sports business. The guys who are on the outside that Fubo might have been talking to, and I assume they're talking to everybody, as you pointed out, about bringing hockey and football, and baseball and others into the fold. Now, all of a sudden, they've got scale and they've got cash. That's a and they got Disney behind them. That's a big
Mhm.
deal. What kind of impact does this have in the sports business?
I think it has a tremendous impact on the sports business. I mean, if this is allowed to move forward, and the
We
deal
have
is
to assume
far,
it will be, or it'll be
yeah,
tweaked so it does.
yeah, the deal is far from certain, but both sides clearly have an advantage. Excuse me, both sides clearly have an incentive to want to do it. By the way, to backtrack a little bit on a previous thought,
Mm.
PBS has the championship games that lead up to the World Series. So if your team is possibly going to the World Series, that Fox has the World Series.
Yep,
So
yep.
just a
And they've
correction
also
on
and there's
that.
Final Four in there. Don't forget about college
Yes, March
basketball.
Madness.
Okay.
And they're basically a spillover channel for things that TNT can't show as well as True TV because they're effectuating so many sports deals. But to answer your question, this deal is really smart for both sides because Fubo has always wanted to be positioned as a sports service. David Gandler, who by the way, all credit to David Gandler for getting this deal through. He managed to use the court system in a very effective way to get Disney to, basically buy out 70% of Fubo.
Yeah.
I don't know that there are many entertainment or sports or broadcast executives that could get Disney to do what Disney just did. And I think what this proves is two things. David Gandler was playing chess while everybody else in the industry was playing checkers. And David Gandler is probably one of the most ruthless broadcast media and entertainment executives today. Absolutely. And it's going to be really interesting to see what he does with the Fubo business. If you're Disney, you're really happy with this deal because you just bought 70% of your biggest headache into any sports deals moving forward, venue sports included.
That would have cost you
And
more than that in terms of how the prices got negotiated upwards because you got two bidders now all of a sudden. And that may be where the thing gets fussy, by the way.
and guess what? Fubo's executives are going to be leading Disney's pay TV business. So now Disney gets to benefit financially from the pay TV sector, for however long that
Yep.
continues to be beneficial. But they have basically none of the responsibilities of running it because Fubo will have all of the responsibilities of running it. And guess who got to really benefit from that? With if you look at the ESPN deal, ESPN as a broadcast as a cable network has always been 20% owned by Hearst Television, who has no operational oversight into the
Right.
network. They don't effectuate anything on those deals, but Hearst benefits financially from it. You basically have Disney doing the same thing now with Fubo, except they have a much, much bigger stake in it. They've got 70% of this company, and they're saying, you know what? David Gandler has proved that he's more than capable of strong arming his way into very lucrative deals. And 220 million is nothing to Disney, but it's a lot, as you pointed out, it's a lot to Fubo.
Yeah.
So let's let him run this thing. And because we think he can run it really, really well. And we'll just sit back and let the cash roll in for however long there is cash to roll in. Because now all of a sudden, keep in mind that Disney, when they go and they renegotiate their deals for ESPN and the broadcast network, as we saw with their DirecTV deal last September, they do it with a stipulation that the distributors can't characterize their negotiating tactics as anti-competitive. That was something that DirecTV clearly came out and said Disney wanted that included in their deal. And they would not tell me if Disney got that term, which leads me to believe that they did. And if Disney's doing that with DirecTV, they're probably doing it with others. So now all of a sudden, if you look back, if you take a step back and you go, who's in a position to challenge from a legal standpoint Disney's ability to go in and effectively buy Fubo? The answer is there's very, very few people who can challenge this in court now because all of these companies that backed Fubo, DirecTV and Dish, if they don't have those terms now, they will pretty soon. And none of them want to lose ESPN. So Disney just showed they have tremendous leverage in this. And what Fubo showed is it was all about Fubo all along. It wasn't about, trying to change the model. It wasn't about trying to make the playing field level for everybody. It was about what's in the best interest for Fubo, David Gandler, the executives, the shareholders, and forget about the rest of the pay TV industry.
Yep.
And that's why I think what David Gandler has managed to pull off today, Monday, was one of the greatest heists in media and entertainment that we've seen in years. It really is. It's a brilliant move. And how is this going to change the trajectory of sports deals moving forward? Well, all of a sudden now you have Disney, as you pointed out, an incredible negotiating power, except they're not really negotiating everything. You've really got Fubo an incredible negotiating power because they're the ones going out signing all these deals. But every deal they sign to bring a channel into Fubo and Hulu Plus Live TV, they're going to do those deals to the benefit of Disney and ESPN and whatever over the top service comes out of ESPN. You best believe that Disney is going to benefit from this.
Yeah.
So, and also, as long as the JV holds true, what's good for Disney and Fubo is now also good for Fox and Warner Brothers. So that's not very few people are going to see that early on. But if you look long term, assuming the venue sports deal holds true and does move forward, which I think it will now, because now all of a sudden you've removed any legal barrier to keep it from moving forward. The only thing they really have to watch out for is because this involves Disney. Trump and Brendan Carr have already signaled their willingness to bring the hammer down on Disney whenever and however they see
Sure.
fit.
Sure.
That's the one hiccup here. But if they prevail in court on those issues, and I think if it really came down to it, they would, Disney now all of a sudden becomes probably one of the greatest entertainment companies that has the greatest leverage in effectuating not only national sports deals, but regional sports deals as well. And I know you have some thoughts on that
Yeah.
moving forward.
Don't you think that the sports teams and the leagues who are, as you and I discussed, they need to be focused on creating great content that people are going to watch, and games are content, and they've even started thinking about it that way. Don't you think that some of those are going to say, hey, I used to have two people to negotiate with, and now all of a sudden there's one? I mean, that's an issue that somebody could make a fuss about, right?
I suppose, but I think what you're getting at is that the sports leagues, the best thing they do is running sports.
That's right.
It's
That's what they
not
know how to do.
it's not distribution, and that's not for lack of effort. There are certainly sports organizations, Major League Baseball comes to mind, that have very smart people running their distribution and tech operations, and they've managed to come in and distribute sports on a local level when some of their distribution partners, like Diamond Sports, which is now Main Street Sports,
Yeah.
uh, were not able to do it. And that's obviously to their benefit that they can figure out how to do it. But I really don't think there's any professional sports franchise here in the US anyway, any of the major ones. I don't think there's any of the major ones that want to be in the distribution game. I
No,
really
but
don't think they
that's
want to be in that business.
but my point isn't that they want to be in the distribution business, but they have a contract and it expires in 3 years.
Right.
And then they're going to negotiate to have my team, whoever my team is, appear on television, be distributed by television by somebody.
Mhm.
And now all of a
Mhm.
sudden I've got one less person to negotiate with. That is, in terms of me getting the best deal, that's quote unquote anti-competitive for me. That might be where the challenge comes from,
Well, if you go into Disney and Disney is saying, we'll put you on ESPN, but we're only going to pay X amount of money.
right?
Disney's not the only player in the game. You can go to Comcast, you can go to Paramount, for however long Paramount exists in its current state. Who knows if they're going to want, I mean,
Okay,
who
but
knows if Paramount will
all
have the
right. So
cash to
so
spend that
there are
money
others
then.
to turn to, but all of a sudden there's one less to turn to because
Right.
it's become one. Okay. I know we're going to get tight on time, but I want to throw something out there just for people to think about. We do tend to forget, and you and I are going to have to dig into this one separately. We do tend to
Mhm.
forget that there is this entity inside Disney called ABC. And ABC Broadcast not only has O&Os in the major markets, they have affiliate deals with local broadcasters from Sinclair and Nexstar and Hearst and everybody else. They have affiliate deals to get ABC programming to 100% of television households free and over the air. And I
Mhm.
would think that at some point in time, somebody over in the ABC shop is going to say, we could do a real good job with sports. We could do a real good job with sports because we are both local and national, and we have free over the air. And with ATSC3, which, like it or not, is coming down the pike, we have the
Right.
ability to do pay TV over the air.
Yep.
And that just kind of it trumps, bad word, it trumps every single player out there just because of the reach. It's everybody.
Yes, we did a story. One of our best of stories last year for the desk was how Peacock got so much attention during the Olympics for being the platform where all of the events were offered live. They had Gold Zone, they had multi-view, they had shoulder programming, and all of those things were great. I used Peacock during the Olympics. But then when you look at the data, when you look at the Nielsen and the Adobe numbers, 5 out of 6 people that watched the Olympics in prime time watched on NBC. They
Right.
didn't watch on Peacock. They watched on NBC. Now, that's not to say that Peacock won't take over broadcast at some point for the Olympics. It's clearly not there yet. They've only done, what, 3 Olympic events, including the Winter Olympics so far to date. So, still in the early stages. And frankly, 1 out of 6 people watching the Olympics on Peacock is actually a pretty good milestone for them. But to your point, when you look at Variety just came out last week with their top 100 shows. Part of the thing about living in Sacramento is you get all these drivers that just kind of blow through the stop sign outside. I don't know if you just heard that guy burning rubber out there. Anyway, if you look at Variety's top 100 programs, I think it was in prime time for 2024,
Yeah.
how many scripted entertainment programs do you think was on that list?
Of the top 100, probably very few. I would assume it's as you
That And let me clarify that we're on ABC.
Oh, that we're on ABC? Well, first of all, ABC's on a broadcast channel that I think gathers dust because I never watch it in my home because there's nothing to watch there. If I'm going to watch
Mhm.
broadcast, I watch NBC or CBS, for God's sakes. So I don't think there's a whole lot to attract the eyeballs in ABC to begin with. In
Yeah.
terms of the top 100, I can't imagine that anything on, I mean, The Good Doctor, who in the world watches The Good Doctor? I can't imagine any of those programs pop up on any top list. So what
Well,
do
if you're
they
watching
have
the good,
that's in there?
if you're watching The Good Doctor, you're probably watching on Hulu. You're probably not watching on the network. And the answer is uh, in the top 100, there were exactly zero scripted shows. Now on reality programming, because they have The Bachelor and The Bachelorette, the number of reality shows aired on ABC that made the top 100, also zero.
Well,
The only programs that made Variety's top 100 list that were on ABC: football, probably no surprise there. Basketball, so the NBA conference finals, or not the conference finals, the NBA finals
yep.
were on the list. Award shows, I believe they had the Oscars last year, and the presidential debate. The ABC News produced presidential debate. That was it. And why? Because if you want to watch The Bachelor, if you want to watch Dancing with the Stars, which isn't even on ABC anymore, if you want to watch The Good Doctor or Grey's Anatomy, I think is still on ABC, or 911, you're going to go watch on Hulu. You're not going to watch on the network. And frankly, the best programming that they have, they've relegated to D2C. So I think you're right in the sense, and I know we're coming up on time here, but I think you're right in the sense that there's going to have to be a rethinking of programming at ABC. And when you have Bob Iger come out and kind of test the waters by saying that, ABC may not be a material to the company's business, it still
Right.
pulls in a ton of money for Disney. They can't sever it so far. And as far as the O&Os, they only have 8, and only 6 of them are in the top markets in the country. Two of them, one of them is in Fresno, and the other one is in Raleigh Durham. So they really depend on affiliates to get their sports programming out. So
And
as
those
as
affiliates pay affiliate fees,
yep.
which is a big part of a network's income. And all those affiliates want to do is sell advertising and back up their 6 o'clock and 11 o'clock news where they make all their money from advertising. They
Wait,
don't
you're in
give,
the
they don't care what the programming is. They'd rather have sports than the Good Doctor. Sorry.
and to your point, you're in the Baltimore market. So do you ever watch Channel 2 for local
No,
news?
no, no.
You don't watch Channel 2 for local news?
No,
Oh.
I
Well,
watch NBC,
WBAL. Yeah, they,
WBAL.
they they are the market leader there, so that does
Yeah.
make sense. But
All
I'm
right.
sure I'm
So
sure
now,
there's
it, somebody in my misspent youth, when something like this came around in a big corporation, there was
Mhm.
always a team that we referred to as skunk works. They were the guys who were going to try to figure out the very strange, amazingly complex problems and come up with a solution that everybody else can go, aha, to. I think there's a Skunk Works team inside Disney working on ABC and broadcast over the air sports, and they're going to move quickly. My guess is I'm going to make a fearless forecast. My guess is before the end of the year, you're going to see somebody present something to Iger for ABC over the air broadcast sports, and he's going to go, aha. Now that one makes sense for me.
Yeah, I don't think they would be telling him something that he didn't already know, but if they have the
Well, they got
data
the
to back it
numbers. I
up
mean, this,
and the projections, then
yeah,
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 100%. I think you're right. And by the way, I don't think Disney and ABC are going to be alone in that thought. I think you're going to have other networks that come around to that idea too. And one of the big ones that already has is Fox.
yeah.
When the Fox executives go to these industry conferences, that's exactly what they're saying. They're saying we're going to let the other 3 competitors do what they want with D2C. But we think value for Fox Sports is on pay TV and on over the air.
Yeah.
Pay TV gives us the best return on our investment. and over the air gives us the best reach. And when you combine those two, the affiliate fees from pay TV and the advertising fees from Fox, which are going to be crazy because they have the Super Bowl this year. So look to Q1 for that. Calendar Q1, I think, is like their fiscal quarter, third quarter or something. Um, Fox clearly believes that's the winning strategy. When Fox does something, when they create a playbook like that, usually others follow suit very soon. So I do think you're on the right track with ABC. We will have to dive
There's
into
a lot
that
to dig in
in a
because
future
if
episode. Yeah,
nothing else, we know the sports teams can't sell jerseys to people who don't watch their games.
that's
So
right.
they have a vested interest in broad distribution to get not just fans of the teams, but casual viewers of what's on tonight. Oh, I'm going to go watch a baseball game. They got to get those people as well. We got more things to talk about, and we're out of time. So we're going to go do this again next week, right?
That's right. Maybe we'll carry this conversation over. I have a little bit of anxiety to see what happens between now and next week because I don't think any of us had Disney buying their way out of the Fubo problem by acquiring most of
Yeah,
Fubo on our 2025 bingo cards.
right.
So who knows? I mean, CES is happening tomorrow. It's Tuesday. So if you're watching this Tuesday, it's happening today. Who knows what's coming out of CES? I mean, it's just 2025 is setting up to be a crazy year.
That's why I love the business,
And
bud.
we're here for it. We're
All
here
right, we'll
for it.
talk again next week. Thank you, man.
All right. Take care. Bye bye.